All right, everyone. Welcome to the latest podcast episode. This is your host, Terry Knight. I have a special guest, Ingrid, in the house. I'm very happy to talk to her because she has a very unique story, a very unique journey, and she's killing it in the real estate game with 50 plus doors. Watch out for her. But yeah, I appreciate you for coming on. Thank you so much. Everyone, welcome, Ingrid.
Hi, Terry. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Cool. No, thank you for spending the time. I know you're busy. So let's just get started, right? Let everyone know who you are, where you're from, and we kind of go from there.
Got it. So my name is Ingrid, and if you don't follow me on Instagram, I'm more active on Instagram than I am on Facebook. So my handle on Instagram is at engineer.on.fire. So engineer on fire. And let me tell you more about myself. I'm actually an immigrant. So I came to the United States from South America, Colombia, and I moved actually when I was a teenager with my family. And it was the whole chasing the American dream. That's why we came here to the United States. And what I did is in my culture, it was very highlighted to pursue a higher education. So that's what I did. Like I was an immigrant. I came here to hustle with my family and I focused on my education. So I went to college. I graduated from college and my next goal was to just land a corporate job. So if I could do that, I would be set. Like that was my definition of success back then is I need to land a 9 to 5 where I get pension or a 401k and I'm going to work until I need to retire and that's it. And that's what I ended up doing. I ended up actually going from an engineering degree and I got a 9 to 5 at a top engineering firm, but things change very quickly, Terry. Because what I didn't realize is just because you work really hard for someone, like a big company, like a top Fortune 500 company, it doesn't mean that your future is secure. And I learned that very quickly. Within 2 years of starting my first job, there was massive layoffs at my company. Like my department got reduced by 75% like that, like overnight. We went on a Thursday morning and then we had a hands down meeting where our supervisor or manager just came and said, "Hey, the company is filing for bankruptcy. So we need to reduce our workforce." And they laid off 75% of my coworkers. I wasn't impacted and my husband, we were not impacted, but just seeing that huge impact of people that I had known, people that had worked for this company for 10 years, suddenly just given 10, 15 minutes to leave, that made me realize that I need to have a plan B. And that's where my journey started, my real estate journey.
Cool. That's very common in the corporate world, right? The layoffs, and till this day, that's still happening across the states. You mentioned engineering. What type of engineering? Software engineering? Um, yeah, what type of engineering?
Well, I'm a structural engineer with
Um,
but then I focus more on the mechanical portions of it. Actually, my whole career has been on the nuclear power. So I'm structural mechanical but focus on the nuclear power.
okay, the nerdy stuff. Gotcha. Gotcha. That's pretty cool.
Yes. Super nerdy.
That's pretty cool. So you mentioned you took a pivot to see what you can do on top of the corporate job at the time, real estate.
Mhm.
What exactly did you do as soon as you had that light bulb? Hey, real estate, and then what was the next
Okay.
step?
Yes. So what happened was like that night when everything happened, like everything just got, I guess, turned over for us. We sat down, my husband and I, and we just took a piece of paper and we're like, okay, we need to have a plan B. Like, yes, we need to go to work 9 to 5, but that is not going to be our only option. That is not going to be our only plan. So let's think about plan B. And then we started researching how can we become wealthy? And that's when we came into the statistics, like 99% of millionaires, they own real estate. And we're like, well, maybe we want to explore that. Like we didn't know anything about real estate. So what we did, we were living in Pennsylvania, but our families are located in Georgia. And we decided to just start pursuing and looking at the market in Georgia. We were very familiar. And then we had family there. Like our goal was to eventually move down to Georgia. So we started investigating. And then it was like around 2014. So you know how everybody was paying cash. Like a
Hmm.
property popped up and it's like sold cash. So we first started we got a pre-approved for a loan and we started looking at properties, but we were getting outbid by people that could close in 1 week paying cash. Like our loan, it would have taken 30 days, like any normal mortgage, right?
Mhm.
But then I sat down with my husband. He's like, hey, we really want to jump into this real estate game. We need to use all of our savings and try to secure a property. Like we need to go all in, like risk everything we have if we really want to get into this. And
Mhm.
a property popped up. We had a very defined criteria. Like we didn't know anything about real estate, but we knew what we wanted. We wanted in this location, so many miles away from the interstate, because I'm from Atlanta. People hate Atlanta traffic. So we wanted to make sure we were close to the interstate. Like nobody wants to get off the interstate and drive 20 minutes home. So all of our property are within like a 1 mile radius of the interstate. So we had that being a major criteria. We had a
Mhm.
city, we had a size, we had how many bathrooms, how many bedrooms, and a property popped up. And I told my husband, "This is it. We're gonna go all in. We're gonna use all of our savings." We made an offer sight unseen because we were in Pennsylvania. Remember that? It popped up. We saw the pictures, and I was like, "Let's do it." And we pulled the trigger. We actually got it under contract. We closed on the property like about a week after like the title came clean, and then we flew from Pennsylvania all the way to Atlanta to see this property for the first time. We went there, and then we worked really hard. We used our credit cards to like painted and buy material. We did all the work with my father and my father-in-law. Like they helped us paint and they helped us put like some vinyl flooring. And that was it. Like that was our first experience with real estate. We bought a property sight unseen. We used all of our savings and maxed out our credit cards just to secure our first property.
So what happened after that? You secured it. You guys did the renovations, right? You maxed out your credit cards. What was next? Like, what was your
We
thinking?
make the biggest mistake, Terry. We were fixing it, like we were like painting, and this one gentleman comes by, like he stops by, and he's like, "Are you guys gonna rent a property?" And I was like, "Yes." And then he's like, "Okay, can I rent it from you guys? I can pay you like 2, 3 months worth of rent, like right now."
Really?
And again, yes, we didn't know anything about real estate. Like we did everything like the wrong way. I tell people, do not do what we did, please. So we were like so tempted by like this person that was willing to upfront 3 months of rent. So we just went online, we downloaded a quick lease agreement, we took
Mhm.
the 3 months rent, and guess what? We didn't do a background check. We didn't do a reference. We didn't do a credit
Oh,
check. We didn't do an application, nothing. It was more like, Terry, you come to me, you tell me you have all this money. I'll tell you, fine, sign here. Here are the keys. That's what we did.
oh my
And
gosh.
to no surprise, after 3 months, guess what happened? He stopped paying rent.
Pain.
So our first tenant became our first eviction. And again, a lot of lessons learned with our first property. When he stopped paying, it was one of those roller coaster feelings of, why did we get into real estate? This sucks. This is not passive income. This is that. But then we sat down and we had to take accountability. Like,
Mhm.
whose fault was it that we took this tenant without doing any screening? It was our fault. So we
Mhm.
took accountability. We kind of went back to the drawing board. We established some SOPs. And then we sat down. It's like, okay, we need to kick him out. He got kicked out. The sheriff came, removed all this stuff. They were not planning on leaving on their own, believe me. They had everything in their house. Like the sheriff knocked on the door and they're like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "You guys missed court. You guys need to leave." And they left and left everything inside. So I had to hire people to come and remove
Take
everything,
it
like their
out.
TVs. Yeah, exactly. But then we learned. And the whole process is that when you're getting into a new venture, you you are going to fail. Like people are going to fail. You are going to get into a speed bump. You are going to fail. But what really matters is how you react to that failure. Are you going to stay down and just see yourself as a victim? Or are you going to learn quickly and overcome that and learn from that? So that's what we did. I mean, during the whole process, I was telling my husband this sucks, blah, blah, blah. And then I realized that, it was our mistake. Like nobody told us, to get the keys to this guy. It was on us for not doing the proper screening. So once he left, we actually did the proper screening. We found a family that was looking for a house in that location, and they've been with us since 2014. So that would
Oh
be what,
wow.
8 going 9 years with us, and
Going
they
on
pay.
now.
Yes, exactly.
Nice.
They are great tenants. They take care of the property. They sign the leases every year. We have a good relationship with them, and they're pretty happy where they are. So it's all about, you need to fail fast and fail forward. You're gonna fail. Like, that's gonna happen when you start a new
Hmm.
venture, but it's how fast you can learn from those mistakes and how quickly you can recover.
Gotcha. Good point on those things. How much are you guys cash flowing off that first property? I mean, it's
On
been.
this property, we're
Mhm.
cash flowing at this moment about $800.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Come
Awesome.
on.
Hey, great investment, definitely. So what happens after, you guys dumped your savings, you maxed
Mhm.
out your credit cards, you got your first property, you dealt with the eviction, you found someone else, great. What was our next step now? You guys are thinking more properties, right?
Well, we're thinking about how we can leverage our W 2. So, like a lot of people, when they go into real estate, the first thing they do is like they get a property and they try to just leave their W 2 job as quickly as possible in order to
Hmm.
just jump into real estate, right?
Hmm.
We did something different than that. What we did, we stayed in our W 2 job and we decided to find a way to increase our income through our W 2 job in order to increase our bankability with lenders. That was our main goal: is how can I use my W 2 job? How can I use this as a tool to help me buy my freedom financially? And that's what we did. Like, we were engineers. So we sat down and I told my husband, I don't hate my job and you don't hate your job. We can really leverage this, because at that time, and you know how corporate America is, like, you get a promotion and you get what, 2 3% raise. That's what it was pretty much every year, 2 3%. Like, hey Terry, 3% merit increase, great job, I'll see you next year. And then inflation is like 6%, and you're like, crap, I'm losing
Ooh.
money.
Yep.
Yes. So what we did is, like, I told my husband, do we really, what's our goal? Like, what is our final goal? And there's a book, 7 Habits of Highly Efficient People,
Hmm.
that talks about start with the end in mind. What is the end for us? What is our end goal? And our goal was to be financially free. So what we did, we started working backwards. How can we get there, right? And we decided that the best way for us in our situation was to increase our income through our W 2. That required a lot of sacrifice, in the sense of we needed to move. When you stay with a company, merit increases is what, 3% on average, more or less.
Yep.
But when you jump companies, you're able to increase your salary even more, like
Hmm.
10%, 15, 20%. But that requires you to be more flexible, Terry. If you have
Hmm.
a job in Pennsylvania and that you need to relocate to Kentucky, that's a huge move. And you got to be willing to do that. And my husband and I, we were on the same picture because we had the same common goal. And that's what we did. We started saying, okay, so as an engineer, how can I be more marketable, right? How can I make more money?
Hmm.
Well, we need to get our licenses and we need to get our masters. Then we can make 20, 25% more, right? Like our income. So we found a company that strategically we knew that it would pay for our masters and our license. So we jumped ship from our company to this other company. We stayed with this company like a couple of years. And as soon as we got in, we got our masters. It took us 2 years of working full time and going to school at night and during the day. Like, it was so much work. But then we also got our license. So that was our first goal, is like being very focused, because we had the same goal in mind. Remember this. And we got our masters, and as soon as we got our masters and as soon as we got a license, we jumped ship again. We relocated to South Carolina. So we're in Pennsylvania, moving all the way to South Carolina. And with that, it came a 30, 40% increase in our income. Again, it was, we needed to be very open-minded, very flexible with us moving. Nobody likes to move. I hate moving. But
It's the
hey, if I
worst.
wanted to increase my income, I have to pick up and move. And that was the sacrifice that we were willing to make. So that's what we did. Like, we bought our first property, and then the next, I would say, 3 4 years, we worked really hard on leveraging that income, because the more income you make, the more banks will lend you and the more you can save. So we also saved a lot, because we know we didn't let that lifestyle creep jump into our lives. Yes, we're making 30% more, 40% more, but we are not buying a Beamer. We are not taking fancy vacations. we're not living in a 3,000 square foot house. Like it was all very strategic for us because we knew that the sacrifice was not going to be forever. So that took us all the way to 2018. In 2018, I told my husband, it's time. I think we are where we are in our plan. We need to really, really like jump into real estate because prices are going up. And we did. Like that year, we bought three properties, and then everything started doing like a snowball effect, and we just grew from there.
That's amazing. So you mentioned W-2 leveraging as a tool. You got three properties in
Mhm.
2018, right? How much of a down payment? Like, was there a hack for that, or were you just paying 20% since, or yeah, 20% for the down payment, or was it just depending on which location or
Well,
state or cities you were
yeah.
doing?
So those properties that we got, we actually bought them cash. Because remember,
Mm.
we've been saving nonstop for 4 years. From
Oh
2014
wow.
to 2018, we saved a lot. Like we didn't go on any vacations. We were like extremely focused. And we got properties in Atlanta for $50,000. So we were able, I know, that was 2018. And we got those properties and we pay cash. And then with our credit cards, we would like renovate the properties and then we put them in the market, which really helped us because then those properties are paid for, right? So fast forward to now, what we're doing is we leverage the equity of those properties to get business lines of credit that has helped us grow even more. So it was very strategic what we did. We knew we were going to pay cash. We knew that it was going to appreciate. The property stayed pretty much paid cash. And then what we did is like a couple of years later, back in 2022, 2021, we were able to do a line of credit on the equity of those properties. So that's what we
Mm.
ended up doing in order to keep growing our portfolio. Now, I do like, I don't know if people know about lines of credit. What I love about a line of credit versus a BRRRR, like a refinance, is with a refinance, you get all the money, but once you use it, that's it. You're stuck with a
Mm.
mortgage, right? With a
Mm.
line of credit, it's like a credit card. Like they'll give you 200,000 on the line of credit. You borrow 100, you can do whatever you want. Hopefully strategically, don't spend it on a car. Go buy another house and renovate it. But you can pay it off, and guess what? You can reuse it again 6 months later. So it's like a credit card that is backed and secured by the equity of the property. So that's kind of like the route we went in order to keep growing our portfolio.
Can you let go into, so I guess the way you're explaining it, okay, I didn't know that part. Like, how did you leverage, I guess, the equity for the business line of credit? Was it based off the business though, or you said based off the property?
Well, it's
The
yeah. So what you do is like my business owns the properties right now.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
it owns the properties right now. So what is really cool, a business line of credit versus a HELOC, is that those lines of credit are not going to affect my debt to income ratio because it's actually against my company. It's not against my personal name. So if you look at
Mm.
my name, you're not going to see those lines of credit because it actually belongs to my company. So my company established in that record and the properties are owned by my company. So what the bank does, they do an appraisal on the property. They have back then it was like 70, 75 LTV, like loan to value. So if the
Mm-hmm.
property, let's say it's worth 100,000, they'll be like, okay, so we can give you a line of credit for 75% of the value of the property. So they
Mm.
will issue me a $75,000 line of credit that I can use. So I would use it, buy properties, invest passively in other investments, and then I'll start repaying the line of credit. But as soon as you start repaying it, that balance that is available, it's there. Like it increases. So if you use 75,000, but then you pay, let's say 20 grand, you can use the 20 grand again doing something
Mm-hmm.
else. It's like a credit card. So pretty much you just make, and what's really cool is like when it's business, it's interest only payments. So you got lower monthly payments. So you got to make sure that you pay that on time. And if you need more money, you withdraw it and you buy something else. And with that cash flow, you start paying it back and rinse and repeat.
Dang, that's actually a good route. I didn't think about that one. Do you have a the companies all in one portfolio for all the properties, or is it LLC for each property for you to leverage the business line of credit?
So what I do pretty much is that Depends on the area. So
Mm,
we go north, west, east Atlanta, like different places in Atlanta.
mm.
And we had a meeting with my attorney. We asked the same questions, like when
Yeah.
do we do like multiple LLCs? And I would highly recommend people, hey, if you have a question about that, talk to an attorney. Like, do invest the $300 an hour that they charge because it protects you. So
Yeah.
in my case, my attorney was like, hey, I recommend that keep areas kind of like in bubbles. Like if you have a
Groups.
class A asset, yeah, if you have a class A asset located, let's say north of Atlanta, keep those properties in an LLC. And if you have assets, let's say class C neighborhoods, whatever in Atlanta, keep those in the same LLC. And once you reach an equity of $1 million within that portfolio, create another LLC. So that's
I
what we've
like
been
that.
doing is like, we
I
make
like
sure
that.
the equity. Yeah. So every time we reach $1 million in equity, we create another LLC. So that's the
So
advice that my attorney gave.
yeah, always speak to your attorney, but that's a good attorney advice. I actually like that. Wow. So are you saying basically once you hit the equity of $1 million, whatever, you can technically get a business line of credit for that amount by getting everything
If you want it,
lined
you
up
can do a
for it?
portfolio. You could do a portfolio loan, yes, but we haven't done that. We just what we
Mm,
do because we don't like to be over leveraged. So you could technically get, let's say, your portfolio is $1 million in equity. LTV, loan to value is usually, well, now it's lower because of the market. Like let's say it's 70%. You could technically get 70%, 700,000. But
mm,
what we decide to do, we don't like to be over leveraged, especially with this very dynamic market. So we
mhm,
strategically pick certain properties and we get lines of credit on that. With the understanding that, let's say that market goes crazy, our portfolio is able to sustain itself because
right.
it's not over leveraged. So strategically,
Good
we
point.
made it like that. We do have some properties that cash flow enough to cover all the lines of credit, the monthly payments. But worst case, let's say that we lose half the tenants because of a huge recession. Like the other half of the portfolio is able to maintain the debt because we don't like to be, too over leveraged.
Exactly. No, that's a very smart move. You guys are killing it. Wow. So I'm just asking questions because this is interesting. But like you mentioned you classify the groups. If you have
Mhm.
classification A, you go to a bank, you have five properties on there. Are you selecting that individual property based that's linked to the LLC, even though there's five properties linked to there? Like how do they determine which
Yes.
property? You
So
tell them, I would think, but
exactly.
how?
So I was highly like if someone wants to do like a business line of credit, I highly highly recommend that you go to a local bank. Don't go to like Wells Fargo and don't go to Truist or Bank of America. Establish a good relationship with a local bank. And when I mean local bank, I mean like one that has like two branches in the whole city, like super local. Why? Because they actually I feel like they actually care about the
Hmm.
customer and they're trying to grow in that community. So that's what I did. I went to local banks and I established a relationship. And yes, let's say that I have five properties in one LLC. And what I do is like, okay, so I sit down with my portfolio personally and I'm like, okay, so which of this property has the most equity built in, right? Is it one, two, three, four, five? Let's say that is the first one. Okay, the first one, how much can I get in rent for the first one, realistically speaking? And let's say that in the market I can get $2,000, right? So I go to the bank and start saying, hey, I got this awesome portfolio, five properties, and I have this one, number one, look at it, and I show them pictures. Look how good it looks on the outside. Look in the inside. It has all this. I do like a little portfolio, like a presentation.
Presentation?
And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, and like, look at this. This is who I am. This is my business. Look at this property. Look at the inside. Look at comparables, blah, blah, blah. It's, based on all these comparables, it's worth this much. And this is how much equity it has. And then they start saying, okay, yeah, we like it. We like the neighborhood. We like the potential. How much can you charge in rent? And give them all that information. Rent is this, da, 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 da. So then they tell me, okay, so we can give you a line of credit based on that. And then we start talking terms and interest rates and everything. And they tell me, okay, we can give you this. And monthly payment, let's say, is $1,200. Well, if it rents for 2,000 and I got a monthly payment of 200, I'm cash flowing, or at least I have that $800 that I can play with, right? So
Mhm.
that's what I do. So I don't do all of them, but I picked the one that has the most potential for more appreciation and higher rents because that rent is going to help me cover that line of credit.
Gotcha. Very smart, Ingrid. Wow, that's amazing. Haven't heard about that tactic. I'm gonna tell you that's a very
Really?
smart move. I heard of quite a few, but not that one. Wow, that you guys, Ingrid is dropping nuggets. Maybe some of you heard of this, maybe a lot of you haven't, but this is a little method you can do to kind of get into the real estate, like just like they did. Like I feel like that's game changing. Um, you guys scaled, right? You went three, four, five, throughout the whole couple years, that whole gap. When did you guys
Mhm.
decide to leave your W two? Like, what year was that?
I left. My husband is still his W two job. Like he loves his W two job, and
Okay.
I'm like, hey, if you love it, you keep working. It's fine. Like he likes the people he's working with. He likes the projects he's working with. And I was in management, and I didn't hate my job by no means. Like I enjoyed my job. Like we became financially independent before our 30s, but then
Mhm.
we like our jobs, so we stayed in our jobs. Like it was, and it's okay. Like if you like your job and you don't want to quit your job, it's okay to stay in your job. Like seriously, it's okay. So I stayed in my job, and it came to a point where our portfolio was growing so much that my responsibilities as a manager and my responsibilities to grow our portfolio, I didn't have enough time to do
Mhm.
both of them to the standards that I wanted. And I chose our future, like our portfolio, over my job. And it was really hard decision for me because I like the company that I work for, and I like the people that I work for and what we were working on. But I told my husband, you know what, it's either working on our future or working for this company. And it was, again, very difficult decision for me. I cried when I left my W2 job. I cried because I liked it. Like people there were nice, and it was a
Mhm.
very good moment in my life. But it came to a point, like I said, I couldn't do both, and I was realistic for myself. Like I don't want to compromise the quality of my W2 responsibilities or my own business. So at that point, I decided to leave my job.
Okay. Cool. And I'm probably jumping ahead on this one. I mean, you guys just scaling, doing the same thing, rinse and repeat. It's just that simple. Once you get the hang of it, once you have SOPs, once you have experience, just like you do. Um, well, I
Hmm.
lost my train of thought. So you have about 50, how many? 55, 53,
Yeah, 55.
55 doors. How
Hmm.
much can someone make off of 55 doors doing what you're doing long term, tenants basically on average? Like what's the cash flow on those?
Um, I would say it will depend. Like we have our own portfolio. Like my husband and I, we have our own personal portfolio, and then we
Mm.
have partnerships as well. That's why the
Oh,
number of
okay.
doors is like high, because it's through partnerships. So I would say in our own like portfolio, you can easily make like 25, $30,000 a month, pretty much.
Oh wow.
And then you have, yeah, and then you have the joint like the partnership or the joint venture, and that gets like split between all the partners.
Hmm.
So that is like, that's a whole different, because you gotta take care of, it's a multifamily, so you gotta take care of the multifamily, make sure that everything gets paid, and then you start subdividing pretty much the profits among the partners. So I would say, and again, it all depends on your structure. It all depends on your
Mm.
goals. Like what we have in our own portfolio, we have a strategic mixture. We have MTRs, we have long-term rentals, and we have STRs. So we have all three of them. We mainly, like, our foundation for a portfolio is long-term rentals. That
Mm.
is our base. And then from them, we hand selected a few properties to do midterm rentals in order to double the cash flow. And from then, we have maybe like a couple of properties where we decided to do STRs in order to increase the
Hmm.
cash flow even more.
Yeah.
It's more involved, it's more time, it's more risky as well. But that's why our foundation is the traditional, boring long term rentals.
It makes sense. Those are good tiers. So 25 to 30K easily with a similar portfolio like yours or anyone that can do if they put the work into it. You mentioned
Yes.
partnerships. Um, I'm assuming that's through networking. Like, how would someone get into more of a partnership role with real estate like you have with joint ventures?
Yes, like number one thing is networking. And I know that it sounds like a broken, like tape recorder, like, oh, you gotta network, right? No, but like seriously, you have to network. And I mean, like, even if you're like an introvert, I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to people. So,
Mm.
like, I had to push myself out of this comfort zone. and just go to networking events, like live network events. And I know that it may sound like against your nature to be like, "Hey, Terry, how are you? My name is Ingrid. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Tell me about what you're doing." But you really have to do this. Like real estate, it's driven by networking. Like it is.
Mm.
If you want to grow, you need to find the right partners. Now, when you're doing a partnership, you also need to take into consideration is, okay, what am I bringing to this partnership? Like, what are my strong skills? So when you go into a partnership, you got to make sure that that is very strategic. It's not like, oh, Terry's my best buddy and we went to high school together. Let's make a business going. No, that is the wrong way to go into a partnership. Why? Because Terry may have the same qualities as me. So we have, the same strengths. You need to complement your partner. So before you go into a partnership, have like a one-on-one with yourself, like an assessment, a self-assessment, and be like, okay, so what am I really good at? What can I bring to this partnership? It is a two-way street. Maybe Terry is really good at like SOPs, like he has his processes down, his checklists down, everything's good. And I'm really good at managing the contractors, right? I'm really good at telling someone, hey, you were late on this, or you were late on that. Hey, like, you know what? You need to buy material, right? So we complement each other. You are the person behind the numbers and all the processes and checklists. And I'm really good, cracking the whip and saying, hey, we need to finish now and staying on schedule and managing and stuff like that. So you got to make sure that not only do you network, but you also know what you're bringing into this partnership.
Those are good points. Anyone listening, listen, networking. Go out to those events. Wow. I mean, you guys did an amazing job just building your portfolio. What's the next step for you guys? Like, do you have any, upcoming goals or future goals or anything in the pipeline you guys are looking forward to?
Yes. So like right now, we're gonna keep building our personal portfolio. So right now, what we're doing, we are focusing on cash flow. Like our main goal is cash flow for our personal portfolio. We are doing the basement conversions, pretty much the one where you have a house and then you have like a full basement, and we renovate the basement and we rent out the basement pretty much in order to
Oh,
increase our
wow.
cash flow. And yeah, it's like the whole different strategy too, to be honest. That works for us and it works in our market, to be honest. And we're going to keep building a personal portfolio with that. And we just finished a property. We bought a property like back in, what is it, February. It took me about 2 months to do everything, like the basement conversion. It was like we had like a house, and this is what's so important for you guys to, when you're looking through properties, it is so important to see the value add on the property. So this house, I'm gonna tell you about this house because it's like the most recent one that I did. This house, it was 1,700 square feet upstairs. We went there and it had been sitting on the market for like 60 days, honestly, like 60 days on the market. Why? Because it didn't make sense. Like if an investor goes and buys a property for, it was $230,000, and maybe you rent it for 1,900, you're not going to make money or a lot of cash flow if you only rent one floor. Now
Mm,
I noticed that this house, and it was on the MLS, it was on the market. I noticed this house had a basement with raw plumbing and electricity and a private entrance. Right.
yeah.
So I went there and I saw the house, and I'm like, it's an old house, it needs LTC, some TLC pretty much. But I went into the basement. It was solid. Like the basement was good. There was no moisture issues. It had its own private entrance. It had all this plumbing and electrical. It had a bathroom. Actually, it had bathroom. It had like two sinks. It was like that. And I was
Oh, wow.
like, I'm going to finish this basement, and I'm going to add an additional 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and a kitchen on this basement. Then I'm going to have 2 units, one upstairs and one downstairs. And at that point, the numbers made sense. So I did that. It took me a couple of months to finish everything. I renovated the upstairs, make sure the paint was good, the appliances, everything good upstairs. And downstairs, I got my team to work and convert everything. The plumber extended the lines, he replaced the toilet, all that good stuff. My electrician, we had wiring there already assisting, so he just added recessed lighting and all that good stuff. So right now, the PITI on this property, Terry, is 1,400. It's like 1,387. So 1,387. So let's
Mm-hmm.
say 1,400. That's
Mm-hmm.
how much I pay on my PITI. The upstairs is renting for 1950, the upstairs, and the downstairs is renting for 1850.
Wow.
So you can do the math. I'm
Yeah.
cash flowing like over $2,000 on this property at this moment. So that's great, right? And I don't need to buy, and that's my strategy. And everybody has a different strategy. So that's why, like, I'm not really into like how many units I have. Tell me how much you cash flow per unit. That's what I really want to know. Because you can have 100 units and you can cash flow $100, and I can do the same with 1 unit or 2 units.
Yep.
So like our goal is to be sustainable in our growth for our own portfolio. So we're gonna keep adding properties like this. That is gonna add an additional $2,000 a month. So that's over $24,000 a year in cash flow. So we're gonna do that very, very in a sustainable way. Close on maybe three of those, and three of those we're talking about over 70 grand, pretty much,
Oh
on
my
just
God.
doing it like that, slowly in a sustainable way. So we're doing that on a personal portfolio. I have a company that works on syndications. So I am working with syndications of multifamilies where we provide the opportunity to investors, accredited, non-accredited, to invest in multifamilies and make some money passively, completely passively, while they sleep.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't
So,
know that. What
yeah.
website is that? Because I'm pretty sure viewers out here would like to know how to um, read more about that and find the opportunity. What's the website for that?
So you can get a hold of me. Like my personal website is www.ingridduque, like Ingrid Duque Duque.com, and I can add you to our list of investors. And then once we have an opportunity that opens up, we provide all that information to the investors.
Ooh, nice. You hear that, everyone? Reach out, join the list, and make some passive income. I really like that part. That's pretty cool. Didn't know that at all. Um, wow, you're just doing so much. Like you guys are really killing it. I'm happy for you guys. You mentioned you have a team, or you have people on the
Mhm.
boots that does all the renovations, the plumbing, the electrical. Is this all in Atlanta, the market that you're focused on, or is it?
Yes,
So how long did
it
it
is in
take you?
Atlanta. Everything is in.
Gotcha. How long did it take you to build a team? Because, or at least, can you kind of go through how building a team is important and how you kind of figure out a way to have that good gel with everyone to get everything done on a timely manner for your properties?
Yeah, and it's gonna be a trial and error. You're gonna have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find one contractor that is responsible and actually shows up to work.
Yeah.
So it happened. Like we went through like five plumbers, to be honest, before we find the
Ooh,
one plumber that we
okay.
actually liked and we have a relationship with. We probably went through like four HVAC technicians as well. Like, it's all about, you get a few references, you check them out, you look at their work, and you start working with them. And then as soon as something doesn't work out, and that is something that I would suggest people do, is like fire fast if they are not being honest, or if they are not being mainly honest, because you gotta be able to trust your contractors. Like, I'm not gonna be on top of my contractors 24/7. I gotta be able to trust them. And it happened to me where everything was going well, and then I would leave them for like maybe like 2 or 3 days because I had to do something else. And then they would be like, "Oh, I'm done," and you trust them, right? And they were not done. They were actually taking shortcuts. Soon as that happened, cut them. You gotta cut them. You'd be like, "No, this is if you did it once, this is exactly, you gotta fire fast. So go get another contractor." It is a trial and error, but once you find one that actually is good and that you can trust and actually does quality work, then you need to make sure that you pay them on time, that you get them the material that they need. Like, make sure you treat them right. Because it's also in the prices, like, if you have that relationship, you guys can negotiate prices. But I see some people just lowballing their contractors. If they are good contractors and they have good quality work, they are worth the price they're charging. So just to save an additional $200 is not worth you going through this whole process of finding another contractor. Like if you know, hey, maybe someone else can get it for $200 cheaper. Yeah, but then do you trust them? Do you have the relationship with them? Like, I'd rather keep my current contractor and pay him the $200 he's asking for instead of going for the cheapest one. And then I don't know how he works. I don't know if he's gonna, like do something sketchy on my property. So I would say that, like, if you find a good contractor, don't go cheap and treat them right. Pay them when you tell them you're gonna pay them, and don't just lowball them. So I would say have that respect for the quality of the work they do.
Well said. I totally agree. What's the best way for people to find properties if they're looking to get involved in real estate? Was there anything in particular that helped you kind of find your particular properties?
There are different ways people can buy. Like, I mean, can find properties. Like, if you go to networking events, you can get on wholesalers' email lists,
Mhm.
and then even like you can do like off-market deals. I would say like 90% of my properties are personal properties we have found on the MLS. So when people
Wow.
tell you that you cannot find anything on the MLS, I would say that's not true because I found 90% of my properties on the MLS and I'm still cash flowing. It's about seeing past what a normal person would see on a listing. So, hey, you may see a normal person may see, oh, it has a garage. Well, could that be an extra bedroom, right? Or it has a huge living room. Well, can you cut it in half and add another bedroom? Or it has an unfinished basement. Could that be another unit? Can you add more value to it? So you have to learn to see past what the average person sees and see the value add opportunity on those properties. And that's what we do. We buy our properties on market, we buy them, and then we value add to them, and as we still cash flow. Like the one that I just told you about, we cash flow on average over $2,000. Last month we cash flowed 2,200. So it is possible. It's just going to take some time. And for us, again, for us, social media misrepresents everything. You see people saying, "Oh, I bought like two properties this month, and it's like the second quarter, and I grew my portfolio." Great, good for them. I'm happy for them. For us, I just need to buy one property a quarter and cash flow over $2,000. Like, I'm in no rush to buy 10 properties and cash flow $200. I'm in it for the cash flow. I want to buy two, three properties and each one cash flow me 2,000. And that's my strategy. So everybody needs to find out their goals because that is our goal as well. Find your goals. If your goal is to have a high volume of properties, go for it. Buy as much as you can. If your goal is appreciation or your goal is cash flow, plan your strategy accordingly.
Awesome. I like those tips. You mentioned your markets in Atlanta right now. Have you guys ever thought about expanding
Mhm.
out outside of that, or you just focus more on that, and then eventually maybe in the future you'll think elsewhere?
For our personal portfolio, we like Atlanta. We're very familiar with Atlanta because we also do the asset management. I like to see my properties and see how things are going. Again, that's our personal portfolio. Our partnerships has taken us to other states. Like we have in South Carolina, we have in Oklahoma, we have in Florida. Again, those are partnerships. So we have boots, like one of the partners is boots on the ground and they're in charge of that. But with our personal portfolio, we like to be the ones boots on the ground.
Cool. Well, to be honest, I think Ingrid just gave everyone a play-by-play on how to get into real estate. I mean, if you don't hear this podcast and implement everything she says, you're crazy, right? It's hard work, right? But you laid it out so great, and it's pretty cool how you guys got from starting off with W-2. I mean, your husband's still working there, but you having to shift away from that and focus more on what you're passionate about, and it's real estate. Um, yeah, kudos to you guys, though. I really like how you guys did what you did. Do you have any other advice for anyone that's trying to start in real estate? Like, what's the best way someone can reach out to you, right? Because I feel like you can definitely help coach, and help people get into this industry and do similar things that you're doing. whether they're
Hmm.
working W-2 and if they want to be an entrepreneur. Like, I feel like you're able to do that. Do you offer anything or anything particular so people can help go down that journey? Or
Yes, we do. So actually, one of my partners and I, we actually have a small community of investors. We have like a small, private, intimate, and exclusive mastermind. And if someone wants to join, or if someone wants to just get to know us, because I think with a mastermind, both of you have to be a good fit. We got to be a good fit for you, and you have to be a good fit for us. So if you're interested in joining our mastermind or just inquiring about it, we have introduction calls that we can schedule with you. We have a website for that, and it's www.thefitribe.org. So thefitribe.org, and you can schedule an intro call with my partner or myself. We can tell you more about our mastermind. We want to make sure we are a good fit for you. It's a small group. We open spots, like maybe 2 spots a month. So if anyone's interested, you guys can join us and schedule an intro call. And I also, like I mentioned at the beginning, I'm also active in Instagram. So at engineer that on fire, that is my handle. You can reach me through Instagram or schedule a call for the mastermind that we have.
cool, everyone. Well, you heard it first. Ingrid in the house here. She just dropped some bombs left and right. Yeah, for anyone that's interested in reaching out to Ingrid, I'll have all the information below in the podcast on the YouTube channel. Um, yeah, I mean, Ingrid, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey and giving so much knowledge to kind of help anyone out there that's trying to do the same thing you're doing. Yeah, just thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you
All
so much
right,
for having me.
cool. Well, everyone, catch you on the next episode. Peace out.